Morning guys, today I thought I'd share my thoughts on the new Triumph Tiger 1200. I'm going to be using my phone because there's a lot of notes I've taken down and a lot of stuff I want to cover. There's probably 1,000 videos on the Triumph Tiger 1200 out on YouTube now, and it sort of got me thinking about the future of YouTube review videos in general, particularly in the case of manufacturers and new bike reveals, where manufacturers are now starting to make their own videos on YouTube and doing their own presentations on the new bikes they're releasing. And these presentations, particularly in the case of Triumph, are really well done. And it sort of has me thinking, what's the point of me making a video if you can just go and watch the official Triumph video and it's of such a good standard? You're getting all the information you need, all the specifications, plus you're getting to see the bike firsthand. For me, it's really got me thinking about the future direction of the videos I'll be making, because I don't really see a point of a heap of YouTubers doubling up and making videos that have already been shared by Triumph. Like, I don't understand what the value is in that for you, the viewer. The way I see it is, you would possibly come to my channel to see what I thought of the bike, rather than all the specs and features that you can get from the factory videos. So today I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video and just talk about the features and the specs that I feel most apply to me, what are of most value to me, and what I'm not so concerned about. So the first thing is the horsepower, 150 horsepower. For me personally, that doesn't really, it's not a selling point for me, because I feel that anything over 125 horsepower is probably going to be wasted on me. I live in a country where if you go over the speed limit by 30 kilometres an hour, so if you're in a 100 kilometre an hour zone, which is 60 miles an hour, and you go 30 k's over, you instantly lose your licence if you're caught doing that speed. So that also can mean that if you're in a 50 kilometre an hour zone, or a 60, which is about 37 miles per hour, and if I go over 30 kilometres over that mark, and I'm doing 80 or 90 kilometres an hour in a 50 kilometre an hour zone, I can still lose my licence. You lose it for a good 12 months. That really shapes the way you ride, particularly in a country like Australia. The risk of going over and getting fines is just too great now. So what I look for in a bike is a bike that's fun and exciting to ride up until the speed limits. It's got to perform really well from 0 to 100 or 0 to 110. And then if I'm on the highway and I want to pass a car at 110, I'd like a bit of power to get past that car, but that's all I need. What I need is good acceleration off the bottom, good mid-range, and a little bit of power for effortless passing on the highway. Now the peak torque, they're quoting the peak torque comes on at 7,000 RPM. That's a little higher in the rev range than I'm thinking I would like. You know, I'd like peak torque by about 5,000 RPM for the sort of riding I'm doing. But they do say in their promotional material that it has good acceleration down low with the T-plane crank engine and good mid-range. So that's something that I would need to test for myself and see if it's going to be a good bike. I like the idea that it's got radiators directing heat away from the rider. I think that's very clever. And their position sort of side on actually reminds me of the VTR 1000 Honda, and also, you know, protecting from stone chips and damage off the front wheel by having the radiators tucked up out of the way. I think it's a real selling point. Now the next thing is shaft drive. For me personally, you know, I'm not too worried if it's chain or shaft drive, but from the comments I'm seeing from you guys really love shaft drive. It's a decision that can stop you from buying a bike if it doesn't have shaft drive for some of you viewers. So I think it's a pretty smart move on Triumph's behalf to fit shaft drive to this bike. Now the wheel sizes. So you've got the GT line and you've got the Rally line of new Tiger 1200s. The GT line has 18-inch wheels on the rear, as does the Rallys. 18-inch size rear wheels is common across all the bikes. The GT line has a 19-inch front wheel, and the Rally line has a 21-inch front wheel. From what I'm hearing, the 21-inch front wheel on the Tiger 900 is not a problem. It still handles quite nicely. So for the road going version, the GT version, you've got a little bit smaller wheel in the front for better handling, but it's not too small where it's going to compromise your off-road gravel abilities of the bike. So I think that's a pretty good compromise Triumph have done there. And then if you want the bigger front wheel and you're into more hardcore off-roading on the bike, then they have the Rally version, which I think it's a clever move. Now we're going to get to one of my first concerns, and that is there's a lot of mention of how they've narrowed the seat for this bike so it's easier to get your feet down to the ground, etc. Now that's going to be great for shorter riders, especially when it comes to hip sizes. A narrower seat is going to be a real win for them. But I do worry for a taller guy like myself, or anyone over 6 foot. Taller guys like wider seats, have wider hips, wider frame. It does look like it's shaped so it's narrow at the front and tapers out a fair bit, but I just hope there's enough width in the wider section and enough size to comfortably accommodate taller riders. My next concern is screen protection. On the NT1100, looks like you've got a wide, generous screen, but the new Tiger 1200, the screen doesn't look like it goes up as high as I would like for a taller rider, and this is evidenced by this little accessory they're selling for the bike which clips onto the top of the screen. What I would have preferred Triumph to do in that situation is not give us a little add-on deflector, but rather give us 2 screens, the option of 2 screens. So you've got a taller screen for taller riders and then the shorter screen for shorter riders. And then when you buy the bike, you can option the taller screen or a lower screen rather than the lower screen with a deflector. I'm not a fan of deflectors. I run one on my bike now. I would much prefer just one screen that I don't have to worry about adding bits onto. The seat and the screen are my 2 concerns. Now, I might test ride the bike and find the screen is completely fine. I haven't test ridden the Tiger 900, but I have heard people say that the wind protection is very good on that bike. I did ring the Triumph dealer here in Australia, my local dealer, primarily because Triumph's promotional videos are saying that it's going to be released in spring in your area. Now, they don't mention whether that's a northern hemisphere spring or a southern hemisphere spring. If it's spring for all areas, that means we'll get the bike 6 months after the northern hemisphere, which is UK and North America. So for clarification, I rang my local dealer and he said we're getting the bike here in March, April of next year, 2022, which is autumn for us. So when they're saying spring, it's spring, northern hemisphere, autumn, southern hemisphere. There's no price yet mentioned on the bike from them, but they are taking pre-orders now here in Australia. So it's definitely coming March, April, which is great to hear. Another thing I like about the new Triumph Tiger 1200 is the electronic suspension fitted standard across the entire range. So even if you get the base model GT, you still get electronic suspension. And the electronic suspension controls damping and ride comfort, basically, for all the models. And it also has automatic preload adjustment, which is fantastic. So if you're riding 1 up, 2 up with luggage, the bike will automatically adjust the ride height to compensate for the weight that's been added. This is a really big selling point for me, so I think that's fantastic. Luggage, there's going to be a good range of luggage for both bikes, and in the GT version the top box in particular will hold 2 full face helmets. Heated grips, cruise control, cornering enhanced ABS and traction control are all available on some models. I'll go through a breakdown of what bike gets what in a moment. Backlit controls is also another big selling point. Turn-by-turn navigation and GoPro integration are also standard across the entire model range. That's built into the TFT display, which is fantastic. So what are the model differences? Well, the GT lineup features 3 models. You've got the 1200 GT, the 1200 GT Pro, and the 1200 GT Explorer. What do you lose if you go for the base model GT? Well, you lose the center stand, but it is available as an accessory. You lose the blind spot radar. It's not available on that bike at all. You can't option that up. You lose hill hold. That's also not available. Cruise control you lose, but it is available as an accessory. Shift assist is not standard on the base model, but is available as an accessory. You lose tyre pressure monitoring, but it's available as an accessory. You lose LED auxiliary lights, but again, available as an accessory. You lose heated grips, available as an accessory. You lose heated rider and pillion seats, but it is available as an accessory option. You lose adaptive cornering lighting. You can't option the base model GT up with the adaptive cornering lights. It's just not available, and you only get 3 riding modes. Now on the mid-spec GT Pro, you get the center stand as standard, but you don't get the blind spot radar. You get cruise control, you get shift assist up and down, you get the hill hold assist as standard. There are 5 riding modes instead of 3. You get the adaptive cornering lighting, you get the LED auxiliary lights. You also get a aluminium skid plate, which doesn't come with the base model. Heated rider and pillion seats are available as an accessory, and tyre pressure monitoring is available as an accessory. Now for the GT Explorer, it has everything the Pro model has, but you get a 30 litre fuel tank instead of 20 litres. Aluminium fuel tanks are standard on all bikes across the range. The centre stand is standard on the Explorer. Blind spot radar is standard on the Explorer. Cruise control, shift assist, hill hold, tyre pressure monitoring, all standard. Cornering lights, LED auxiliary lights are standard. You get the skid plate and engine protection bars. Heated grips are standard, as is a heated rider and pillion seat. Now suspension travel. Suspension travel on the GT line is 200mm front and rear. If you compare that to the NT1100, that's 150mm front and rear. And for the Africa Twin as a comparison, the Africa Twin has 204mm, so basically the same as the GT on the front, and 220mm on the rear. So it's just under an inch more on the Africa Twin on the rear than the GTs. Triumph have done a really good thing here in that they've given the GT generous suspension travel. For someone who's looking for a road bike with a bit more suspension to be able to cope with the bigger bumps, the GT is really well set up. And it's enough suspension travel to also take it onto dirt roads, I feel. In particular when you see that the rally version only has 220mm front and rear, so it's just less than an inch more than the GT. Here are some items that are common across the GT line. Daytime running lights, ABS, traction control, 7-inch TFT with Triumph's connectivity system is standard, handguards are standard across all the GT models, and you get a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty standard across all GT models. Actually that's standard across all the GT and rally bikes. Now in the rally model range you have two options, Rally Pro and Rally Explorer. The Pro has a 20 litre fuel tank and the Explorer has a 30 litre fuel tank. Both come with centre stands as standard. The Rally Pro version loses the blind spot radar system and it's not available actually. Both have cruise control, shift assist, hill hold and 6 rider modes. The Rally line gains an extra rider mode over the GT. So the base model GT has 3 rider modes, the GT Pro and Explorer have 5 rider modes, and the Rally Pro and Explorer have 6 rider modes. Tyre pressure monitoring is standard for both the Rally Pro and Rally Explorer, as is adaptive cornering lights, LED auxiliary lights, heated grips, but the heated rider and pillion seat is not standard on the Rally Pro version. It is available as an accessory though. So which would I go for? The GT or the Rally? The 21-inch wheel of the Rally is a bit of a draw for me in that I'd like to have that larger wheel on the off-road sections I do. But having said that, my NC750X has 17-inch front and rear, and I find that to be completely fine as well. So I think looking at the specs and the features of both the GT and the Rally line, I think the GT line would suit me better. And I think it would probably be the GT Pro is what I would go for. So how does the new Tiger 1200 compare to the two bikes I had previously thought were going to be one of my next bikes? And that was the NT1100 and Africa Twin. They were the bikes I were considering for my next bike. This Tiger 1200 has really upset the apple cart for me because it's a very attractive proposition. When I compare it to the NT1100 in particular, the Tiger 1200 GT Pro has 2 inches more suspension travel, has electronic suspension, has a quick shifter fitted standard up and down. I was considering the manual version of the NT1100 and optioning up the quick shifter there, and it has shaft drive. I wasn't too fussed on chain versus shaft, but if the shaft drive comes for free and it's less maintenance, why would you not go shaft drive if it's an option? So Triumph have done a pretty amazing thing here, really, when I think about it, because the previous Tiger 1200 wasn't a bike that appealed to me, but the changes I've made to this model have really put it on my radar. And to be honest, at the moment, it's probably at the top of my list of bikes to check out. Definitely will be trying the NT1100. I definitely will be trying the Africa Twin. And it was only going to be those two bikes, but now I'll be definitely adding the Triumph Tiger 1200 to the list of bikes to check out. It's firming as being the strongest competitor of the three. As I said before, my main concerns are wind protection from the screen and seat comfort. Now let's see how you might potentially fit on the Triumph Tiger 1200. I'll show riders 5'3" to 6'4" on the bike, and I'll show the seat in the highest position and the lowest position. And there is a lower seat option that you can buy. If I can get the specifications of that, I'll include that as well. I might do a comparison video between the NT1100, the new Triumph Tiger 1200 and Honda's Africa Twin, just so I can break down the key specs and features and see how they all compare and compete. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below, and also let me know if you're interested in the new Triumph Tiger 1200 and maybe if you're considering buying it. Thanks very much for watching today, stay safe, and hopefully I'll catch all of you again in the next one. Bye for now.